I'm Japanese. Do we want to work a lot? The answer is no. Then, do we want to go home early? Well, the answer is no. Let me introduce you to this strange Japanese ecosystem. In 1995, the average annual working hours in Japan were 1,884 hours. If you divide that by the number of weekdays in a year, that's roughly 8 hours a day. For example, the US had 1,886 hours. Germany had 1,531 hours, plenty of time to grill sausages. The Eurozone was relatively low overall. Meanwhile, Mexico had 2,161 hours, even more than Japan, leaving no time to eat tacos. Awesome. I love tacos. I'm probably the only Japanese person who does. So why are Japanese people said to be overworked? The answer is simpler than IKEA furniture. In the 1990s, unpaid overtime was normal in Japan. This wasn't reflected in the statistics, and it's said to have reached up to 300 hours a year. Yeah, enough time to get every trophy in Monster Hunter. Japanese people have long been called diligent. In diaries from Edo period farmers, you'll find entries like, "It rained today, so I thought I'd rest. But I worked anyway." They're adorable creatures. Even crops probably wish they could take a break sometimes. What factors directly lead to overwork? One is working hours. In other words, the time you go home is an important parameter that shows overwork. Here are some reasons Japanese people can't go home. The boss is still working. Everyone else is still working. People might think you're not motivated, and there's a scary wife waiting at home anyway. It's not like anyone is directly telling you not to go home. It's the atmosphere that says you shouldn't. This reading the room is a huge cause of overtime. You can't understand Japanese culture without understanding this. Since there are few foreigners and most people share the same cultural background, sometimes this atmosphere matters more than actual interests. Put simply, we focus on long-term relationships rather than short-term gains. And what comes after that? You guessed it, even more long-term relationships. Anyway, work is teamwork. A company's work is everyone's work. If you're sharing the workload, you can't leave others behind and go home first. So no one leaves, which means no one can leave. Because no one leaves, no one can leave. A perpetual motion machine. A Nobel Prize isn't out of reach. Another factor is the lack of days off. Japan has paid vacation. We usually get around 20 days a year. You're given the right to take 20 days off. You can split them up or take them all at once. That's the theory. In reality, no Japanese person uses them all. Zero. The only person I've ever seen take all their vacation was an American. The reason Japanese people don't take time off is simple. Work piles up. If the system worked properly, someone would cover for the person who's off. But instead, it's interpreted as someone else suffers because you took a break. This mental burden creates the mysterious phenomenon of taking time off is more tiring. This violates the laws of physics. When Japanese people take a day off, they say, "I'm sorry, I'll be taking a day off." They apologize because someone else will have to do their work. It feels natural to Japanese people, but not a single one of them is actually sorry. It's like saying hi in English. There's a slang term in Japan, shichiku. It comes from company plus livestock, meaning someone owned by their company. Whoever invented this word was definitely messed up. There's also the word yaragai. It's hard to translate. Generally, it means the non-monetary reward you get from working. A Japanese word close to yaragai is zarigani, but that just means crayfish. For example, when a doctor saves someone's life, they probably feel glad they saved them. That's yaragai. In the 1990s, Japan's economy wasn't doing well. Companies couldn't pay employees enough, so they focused on providing this yaragai. It's basically an energy drink. Whoever came up with this energy drink system is also messed up. They tell you your work contributes to society and helps many people. This culture still remains, and sometimes it keeps people going even with low wages. Anyway, if the person is satisfied, that's fine. By the way, Japan's working hours have actually decreased a lot in recent years. We've made progress. At least no one around me does unpaid overtime anymore. In recent years, work-style reforms have brought remote work, flexible hours, side jobs allowed more flexible ways of working. I'm using my remote work time to make this video. Yeah, we've partially regressed. Anyway, especially among younger generations, the idea of life over work is spreading, and long working hours are gradually decreasing. In other words, overworked Japan is currently evolving. Let's look at how our environment has changed. At my company, if you use your computer during break time, you get scolded. Some companies turn off the lights and shut down all PCs the moment the end-of-day bell rings. This system makes it physically impossible to read the room. Otherwise, they'd unconsciously read it anyway. But even with all this, the overwork culture won't disappear completely. For example, bosses who lived through the 1990s say things like, "Back in my day, I worked way more for the company," and pressure their subordinates. Their heroic stories are always about how long they worked, not what they achieved. They keep crayfish in their brains, and the crayfish make all their decisions. Their passion for work is real, but they clearly create a culture where going home early makes us the bad guy. Another thing, Japan's evaluation system is deeply connected to all this. Many companies still value seniority. For example, no matter how much you achieve, you can't become a team leader for 10 years. It's harder than leveling up in an RPG. Even if an employee finishes all their tasks and leaves on time, they're seen as not dedicated to the company. They're told they don't work enough hours. This isn't ancient history, because the ones evaluating them are crayfish bosses who did unpaid overtime in the 1990s. So in the end, why do Japanese people work long hours? A serious national character, a culture that values teamwork, or a habit of reading the room, etc., etc. These combine to create Japan's unique long working hours culture. But it's not all negative. Japanese people are responsible, care about their teammates, and have the spirit of, if we're doing it, let's do it right. I hope so. If you come to Japan and see people working late at night, quietly cheer them on in your heart. And to everyone in Japan, take a break sometimes. We've got hot springs and sushi is waiting. Life isn't just work.